Mangwana ni Mwalelepo Vukenjani Class Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweyo. How's it going on?
It's going well. It's a brand new week. I'm excited.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a beautiful Monday.
Let's get to it.
Here are the top stories on Africa. Good morning. Sudan Army calls on ex-soldiers to re-enlist. Sporadic fighting persists. Mozambique proposes pay cut for top officials, and cholera updates. UN steps in. You can follow all our programs on oneup2.com as well as DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 in Namibia. We also have Talen Gore joining us, as well as Ari Hogar all the way from South Africa. We have a jam-packed show for you this morning. Stay tuned as we will be right back with our top stories.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
In our top story this morning, Sudan Army calls on ex-soldiers to re-enlist as sporadic fighting persists. Sudan's army called on Friday for reservists and retired soldiers to re-enlist amid a deadly conflict with a rival paramilitary and asked the United Nations to change its envoy to the country. The call to former soldiers to present themselves at their nearest military base looked aimed at strengthening the army in its battle with the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary, but may add fuel to the conflict days into a truce. Sporadic fighting has continued all week, though the ceasefire monitor Saudi Arabia and the United States said earlier on Friday that compliances was improving, but the army moves may indicate it is gearing up for a long conflict.
Now, the Mozambican cabinet has approved a bill proposing pay cuts for ministers, deputy ministers, state secretaries and MPs as the government grapples with a rising wage bill. Finance and Economy Minister Max Tonella on Thursday said the proposal was seeking to address concerns over provincial assemblies' member salaries, which he said contradicted the principles of fair pay. Mr. Tonella said some of their salaries were significantly higher than those paid to other executives and specialized professionals. He did not indicate the amount of the proposed cuts. The pay cuts will not be applicable to the public servants whose salary was adjusted under the unified pay scale approved this year. The move comes nearly 2 weeks after the International Monetary Fund highlighted the need for the government to reduce public wage expenditure. The wage bill will be submitted to Parliament for debate before it is passed into law.
In our next story, cholera update, UN steps in, Vaal River tests positive. In an ongoing battle against cholera, South Africa is now receiving reinforcement from the United Nations. This after the outbreak had already claimed 22 lives across Gauteng and the Free State. Adding to the severity of the situation, recent tests have confirmed the presence of cholera in the Vaal River. According to Nelson Mofu, the UN representative in the country, the organization is readying resources and personnel to offer assistance. The goal is to bring relief to communities hit hardest by the outbreak and stop the situation from spiraling further out of control. The cholera outbreak also amplified the already dire situation regarding clean water availability in Hammanskraal. However, in the middle of the crisis, a few opportunists are profiting by selling water. The city, however, urges residents to refrain from purchasing water from roaming tankers, emphasizing that this water has not been tested.
Now, nearly 5 years after he was arrested in South Africa, Mozambique's former finance minister has lost a last-ditch court appeal and faces extradition to the United States over a $2 billion corruption scandal related to loans to Mozambican state-owned companies. U.S. prosecutors allege that Manuel Chang, Mozambique's finance minister from 2005 to 2015, was involved in a scheme that ultimately defrauded American and international investors. The huge sums of money lent by international banks to Mozambique and guaranteed by the Mozambique government were meant for a series of maritime projects but disappeared in bribes, kickbacks and other illegal payments, it's alleged. Chang is accused of receiving about $17 million in bribes in the hidden debts scandal. Now, the more than $2 billion was meant to be for the purchase of naval vessels, the building and maintenance of shipyards and various other projects to help the country's fishing industry, but were never used for those purposes, according to the allegations.
In our next story, homeless to be moved out of Paris ahead of the 2024 Olympics. The French government plans to move homeless people out of Paris ahead of the 2024 Olympic Games in the capital, sparking criticism from mayors of regional towns and villages which are expected to house them. From mid-March, the government began asking officials around France to create temporary regional accommodation facilities that can handle an outflux of homeless people from the capital. Many of them are migrants. Housing Minister Olivia Klein explained to Parliament earlier this month that the changes were necessary because of an unexpected accommodation crunch in the City of Lights during the Rugby World Cup from September and the Olympics next year, July and August.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa is set to announce election dates today. We'll be talking to Talent Gore after the break.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Top. Jullie is weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik kan byt.
As we promised earlier, we are back with Talent Gore, who is all the way in the House of Stone, and she has the top stories in Zimbabwe. Talent, how are you?
Good morning in Africa.
All right, Talent, we are doing fantastic. We understand the president of Zimbabwe is set to proclaim dates for this year's harmonized elections tomorrow. Tell us about this.
Yes, President Emmerson Mnangagwa is set to proclaim dates for this year's harmonized election today. He made this announcement on Saturday, where he was in Binga, where he was celebrating, or rather launching the National Month. He said that I will be announcing the election date the day after tomorrow, meaning today, Monday. The president also then rallied the people of Binga to vote the ruling party ZANU-PF in their numbers and defend the gains of independence and ensure the heritage is not put in wrong hands. So today we're just going to be waiting for him to announce the election date. As much as we know they're going to take place in August, but we're not really sure, don't know as the actual date. So we're just waiting to hear on the actual date when the elections are going to take place.
All right. Now, could you tell us about the 8,000 migrants who are set to return to Zimbabwe from South Africa?
Yes, the Zimbabwean government has said that 8,000 migrants who registered to return home ahead of the expiry of the Zimbabwe exemption permits in South Africa June 30 are expected anytime soon, with the government confirming all logistics for a smooth process were in place. He also said that this is the first batch of ZEP holders registered for assistance during the mapping exercise conducted from February until early March this year. Foreign Affairs and International Trade Deputy Minister David Msabayana said all modalities for easy movement and for the returning citizens were now in place, and the government stands ready to receive the entry holders who have volunteered or who have rather confirmed that they will be coming back home.
All right, we understand that the nurses in Zimbabwe have put the government on notice for them to improve their salaries and conditions of service. Otherwise, they will do something about it. Tell us about it.
Yes, nurses have put on notice to improve their salaries and also conditions of service or face mass action, saying their earnings were no longer viable. The nurses accused them of pushing them to the extremes as their salaries have been wiped out by inflation, whilst no effort is being made to improve their conditions of service. In an emotional letter to the Health Services Commission, nurses said they were having to watch helplessly while patients die in under-equipped hospitals. So there was need for the government to step in, and the nurses have said that if the government doesn't do anything, it's going to go on mass action.
Yes, the government should certainly heed their call, considering the brain drain already happening in the industries in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Talent Gore, for bringing us the news stories.
You're welcome very much for having me.
It's always good to have you on Africa Good Morning. Now, someone who truly loves Africa is Russell, the hardest geezer cook from Britain, who is currently starting a 15,000, he's already embarked on it, a 15,000 kilometer journey across Africa. We had a chat with him.
I'm a stone's throw south of the Euros Acre here, south of Windhoek. I'm waiting for Russell Cook, the hardest geezer. He's running from Cape Agulhas in the Southern Cape, the most southern tip of Africa, to Tunis, the most northern tip of Africa. He started his journey more or less 1,700 kilometers away, and he's currently about 12 kilos south of Windhoek. So Russell will end his journey today in Windhoek at the Euros Airport, where we will have a nice interview with him. And here's he coming, Russell, hardest geezer, all the way from Cape Agulhas, more than 1,700 kilometers, I believe. A few kilometers in front of Windhoek. Good afternoon, Russ.
Good.
Go all the way. See you at the airport.
Yes.
Thanks, bro. Russell,
Yes.
My guess is that you have completed more or less 40 marathons in 33 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And the kilometers, 1,007 approximately?
Something like that, yeah.
And you're not too far from your destiny today.
No.
at the hotel. This is not the first time. People, this is not the first time that the hardest geezer has done this. He once ran from Asia to London.
Yes.
When was that?
So that was in 2019. That was a little bit different to this time because I didn't have any support crew then.
Yes.
So I just had this bag and a hammock and a sleeping bag, and I'd run a marathon and then find a couple of trees like those ones over there and just sleep for the night and then go again. And
Crashed for the night under the tree and
Yeah.
hoping that you
didn't get eaten by a wolf or something or a bear. Yeah.
How many days did it take you? Like 66 or what?
66 days that was, yeah.
And how many kilometers was that?
That was about 3,000, I believe.
So Russell, you're going to prove a lot of people wrong.
Yes,
This
that's
crazy
the plan.
Englishman.
Yeah. The British were always a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Russell, thank you very much for your time.
No worries, guys.
Good
It's been a
luck
pleasure.
with the rest of the road. There's another 15 countries
Yes.
left and the half of Namibia to the northern border with Angola.
I'm excited.
Any message for the Namibian people, because this is going on to TV today?
Yes, I just want to say a massive thank you to all the Namibians who've been so kind to us throughout our time here. You know, it's a credit to all of you. And you know, keep pushing on, guys. Keep putting that work in. You know, we're going to make it happen.
Russell, the hottest geezer, thank you very much and
Nice
God
one, mate.
bless.
Cheers, man.
I'm a couple of kilometers before Kenya and there's this Russ cook coming. Russ?
How's it going, my friend?
Good, my friend.
Good, good.
You remember me?
Yes,
From,
yes.
Good, man. Listen, it's about 20 to 7 in the
Yes.
evening before Kenya.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to stay there overnight and going to take a day from tomorrow morning?
We're gonna. I've got 7 more kilometres to run about, and then we're gonna go back to Windhoek, and then the boys will drop me back up where I finish tonight, and then I'll go again tomorrow from the same point.
Russ, we pray you on our prayers.
Thank
and
you, man. I
we're wishing you
appreciate
the best roads, safe roads,
that. Yes.
the best health possible
Hopefully.
for
so.
your endeavour to the north of Africa, Tunis.
Yes.
And we pray and hope that you're reaching your destiny and becoming the first man in history to do this by foot
Yeah.
from the south to the north of Africa. Just one question.
Yeah.
The original plan was to run from the north to the south.
Yes.
What
All right, let's get straight into the economic news stories.
Nigeria's Senate approved a bill to raise government borrowing from central bank. Nigeria's Senate amended a law on Saturday to allow the federal government to borrow more money from the central bank just days before incoming President Bola Tinubu takes office. The changes adopted during an emergency session will allow the government to increase its overdraft at the Central Bank of Nigeria to 15% of the previous year's revenue from 5%. The lower house of assembly had approved the changes on Thursday.
All right, and a Nairobi-based green transport company unveiled a new charging station aimed at electric motorbikes. Now, the station is aimed at boda riders, the mainstay of the motorcycle taxi industry. Riders can have their batteries charged to 80% in less than an hour for an affordable fee. The rider will come in with their own battery, and will be able to charge it for them. So we are able to charge it from 20 to 80% charge in less than an hour at a very affordable fee, they said. All right, let's head into the economic indicators just before Ari joins us for the sport. So the English Premier League has officially come to a close. Leeds, Leicester and Southampton have been relegated to the First Division, and we all know what the worst defeat of the season was. I'll give you 7 guesses. Ari Hohad, take it away.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, it was always a stressful Monday trying to figure out what happened over the weekend. Now it's done. 38 weeks of football, lots of football played. In the end, Manchester City crowned champions a week or so ago already, but they lost the last game against Brentford. That was their last game against Brentford 1-0. Brentford still had a chance to sneak into the top 8, which will get them into Europa League, but they just missed out with a point because Tottenham Hotspur beat Leeds by 4-1. That was at Leeds, for them taking the 8th position. So it's done, the top 4 for the season, then Man City winning the other 3 that will play Champions League, Arsenal and also Newcastle United and Manchester United. And the rest of the other 4 that will play Europa League will be Liverpool, Brighton, Aston Villa, and then Tottenham Hotspur. But the big fight yesterday was for relegation. It's very lucrative to play in the English Premier League. So to avoid relegation is a big thing. And unfortunately, 3 teams need to go down. The big deciding game was Everton that beat Bournemouth by 1-0. By that, they stay up. They continue to be in the English Premier League. The teams going down, Leicester City, they won their game, but they're going down. Leeds going down, and also Southampton. They had a 4-4 draw against Liverpool, but they were relegated quite a while ago. Let's go into some rugby news. There was a big final in Cape Town. That was the final of the United Rugby Championships, played at the Cape Town Stadium. Not good news for Cape Town. Lots of expectation for the Stormers to defend their title, to win a 2nd crown in consecutive years, but they lost to Munster, the Irish team. Munster winning that game 19 points to 14. So quite an impressive win for the Munster team. There's the team celebrating in the Cape Town Stadium. Champions of 2023, Munster from Ireland. Quite impressive. They won 6 games on the road, getting to the final. 5 games on the road, winning the 6th game on the road as well. So quite impressive win for them. Going on to some Formula 1 racing news. It was the Monaco Grand Prix. Always very exciting. It's in the streets of the Principality, and that's the winner. That is Max Verstappen. Still, it is Honda, Red Bull Racing that dominates the Formula 1 racing. It was all done basically with the qualifying on Saturday. He started first. It's almost like a proceeding through the streets of the Principality with lots of corners, 52 times they have to change gears. Anyway, it was Max Verstappen winning. Fernando Alonso continuing his good run for Aston Martin, he's 2nd, and Esteban Ocon of Alpine, very surprisingly, in 3rd position. Mercedes-Benz, Lewis Hamilton, and George Russell 4th and 5th. So Max Verstappen still leading comfortably in the points table as well. The cricket rained out. That was the final in the Indian Premier League that was meant to be yesterday. The IPL final will now be played today. So that is much anticipated. But no ball could be bowled yesterday, so it was totally washed out. And we'll see them in action today, hopefully in yellow there. And then just to quickly conclude, the French Open starting also. It was some first-round games that was played. The most significant one, maybe, that is Arena Sabalenka. She's from Belarus. She had a bit of a challenge at the net. She beat Marta Kostik of Ukraine, but the Ukrainian didn't go for the handshake. She said that it is Arena Sabalenka not making a big enough stance against the Russian-Ukraine war. Arena Sabalenka is from Belarus, and obviously Belarus is involved in that war, unfortunately, as well. So a bit of war coming into the sport there. Hopefully the week will go better as it goes on. But that's international sports news for today. Hope you have a lovely sport day and weekend. And we talk again international sport tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right. Cheers, Ari. Certainly looking forward to talking to you again. And as we look forward to talking to you, I'd just like to remind the audience that Arsenal won 5-0 yesterday. Highlights after the break.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Let's have a look at a couple of the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Sudan Army calls on ex-soldiers to re-enlist. Sporadic fighting persists. And Mozambique proposes pay cut for top officials. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for watching our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. And on that note, it's all our love, all our light, and happy Monday.
Sudan Jakanaka.